So what they say is actually true. The PetroCan mobile and the 7-Eleven Speak Out mobile, they provide unlimited 3G, and it looks like actually maybe 3.5G, 4 or whatever, which ones, I'm not sure. LTE maybe. Haven't tried that yet. I'm waiting for actually Constable Cadwell to call back. Wasn't able to get her call back yesterday, and so we're trying again today. As I was saying that when try to show actually patience and not calling the police when there are issues with the court order compliance, and then when she just has certain things that she wants to complain about, then calling the police actually sort of compels me to provide the full context in the name of truth, actually, and that's why I used to be sort of impatient about wanting to help her to not do that because it brings trouble to ourselves. But then I realized you can't convince anybody of anything, and that includes, if somebody has to feel the impact of something for whatever reason, then I guess it's up to me to rise to doing that for Katie and for myself and for everybody else there. Patience is one thing, and I guess and weaseling out of something can make look exactly the same, but just depending on what components of the motivations there are. And of course, as long as we recognize that we're always a bit patient and always a bit of a weasel. So anyways, you'll set the APNs. Now, the Rogers APN does seem to work here, but then this only works, I think, on this Galaxy S2X because I replaced it with a stock Rogers ROM. And remember that the PetroCan mobile and the Speak Out mobile from 7-Eleven are both based on the Rogers network. And actually, I'm not sure that you even need to unlock phones to use them because I didn't seem to have to. But then again, it could have been unlocked when I received the phone. Thanks, it was generously donated to. And I think I should give back by explaining how you can benefit from this $8 or $10 a month unlimited 3G, 4G. Using the Rogers network. And for most people, if you're not connecting with an actual Rogers phone and you don't have the Rogers APNs, then there are two of them that you can use, that internet.com, but also the PetroCanada mobile. They provide the one on their website that does work, and that's goam.com or goam. Whatever. You just need to know that there's an HTTP proxy that you have to use to connect everything by HTTP, and that is the same protocol that web browsers use, like Internet Explorer and Chrome and Firefox, but the difference is that it's just the protocol that things are sent by. It's not a web page necessarily. It's because you notice web pages that can have, say, streaming content like videos or internet radio, and that's just a stream of data. So it's carried by HTTP transport, which is one of those, this 7-layer OSI model of it's kind of like how you have in biotechnology and biochem. Remember, you had primary structure, secondary structure, tertiary structure of proteins, and it's just a different hierarchy or order of magnitude of organization. And it's kind of exactly, actually, not kind of, the same way that I had mentioned that, or observed that, say, physics is a certain level of complexity, and then an order of magnitude of complexity greater would be, say, chemistry, an order of magnitude greater complexity would be biochemistry, an order of magnitude would be the organism level, biology, then we go to sociology. And then when Father Clement was here, I started to notice that actually it's the same level of abstraction when we talk about spiritual issues, or actually if you want to characterize or develop a structured sort of systematic framework for what God is. Actually, I suppose you can say that using the same abstraction of order of magnitude of complexity from physics, chemistry, biology, sociology, and the higher level of complexity, of course, but of course there's more than that, and that's each dimension you go up by, each order of magnitude of complexity that you go up by, it increases more than just the number of dimensions of complexity. It's actually a whole order of magnitude difference, but that's a whole other topic. Anyways, so yeah, just connect to goam.com or internet.com and put everything through the HTTP proxy at 10.128.1.69 port 80. Now, for other applications that may not be accessing or expecting to comply with going through a proxy, you can essentially use Proxy Droid and an SSH tunnel. If you have access to an SSH server, or if you run a Linux at home, then you can tunnel anything through an SSH encrypted tunnel. And instead of using a password, the advantage is that you can use the public-private key challenge response authentication. So you never actually have to transmit the same password that is used to authenticate or log in as you would use to create that account. Like I can post my public key on the front page of the newspaper, and literally that's why it's called a public key. And anybody can create a login for me, that as long as I can attest that I've kept my private key secure, then I would never have had to transmit the same password that's used to log into an account that was used to create it, because the public and private key are sort of mathematically linked, and it's just a nearly impossible task to figure out the private key from whatever public key fragment that I send you. So anyways, the other alternative would be if you connect through a VPN through their HTTP tunnel. In order to do that, because the HTTP tunnel does sort of identify and try to block regular SSH traffic on port 22, if you're using Ubuntu at home, you can install SSLH, which is allowing you to share the port. Say, if you use 443, which is the HTTPS port, then you can still run, say, an HTTPS web server, and then it'll identify when a request is coming for the SSH server, and then it'll sort of shunt it off to the SSH server, as opposed to just sending everything on port 443 to the HTTPS server. Now, the significance of this is that actually McDonald's and other free Wi-Fi spots, they also tend to block commonly used tunneling ports, like 22 for SSH. I don't know if 3128 for Squid and other HTTP proxies are normally blocked, but anyway, the easiest way to channel encrypted data all through one tunnel so that the site doesn't know where you're browsing or what content you're accessing is to use an SSH tunnel, and then everything is thrown through an encrypted tunnel, that you don't have to worry about, say, McDonald's looking at where you're going, or say the library. Now the library is an example too, that they generally block traffic on those commonly used tunneling ports. So actually, if you use something like SSLH or S-Shuttle to set up a VPN using SSH, then even if they block the commonly used VPN ports and proxy ports, that you can still tunnel encrypted data through all one encrypted tunnel, and you don't have to worry about anybody intercepting your Wi-Fi. The only thing you'd have to worry about in terms of intercepting would be between the SSH server, I suppose, and the VPN server and whatever site, but that should be obvious, I suppose. Okay, so anyways, it's now 6:39 p.m., so I should actually try to call Constable Cadwell back, and then try to follow up on this thing for Katie. And of course, love you, Katie, and hopefully can hear from you or talk with you. See you soon. Hope you got the correspondence course piano lesson. This one's your correspondence course, IT, internet, whatever thingy. Bye.